Today, Steve Cohen gets brutally honest when it comes to his assessment of the Pete Alonso contract negotiations. Oh man. Plus, Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor chime in on whether or not they want Pete back in the fold. And we have to take a look at the new road alternate uniforms the Mets dropped today on Amazing Day. This is January 1, 2025. What's going on, everybody? This it's Flobo Boyce, and you're listening to Mets Digest. Myself, alongside Mike D'Angelo, have been working tirelessly in this offseason to give you the Mets news and notes you need. Do us a favor, like the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. I'm not going to belabor the point. Let's get into our story today. Before we even get into the Pete Alonso situation, because I didn't think that Steve Cohen was going to actually discuss it head on. He did, but let's get a smaller story out the way because I really want your opinions on this in the comments below for watching. The new road alternate uniforms for the Mets have been released officially. Of course, a couple days ago, there was that Fanatics leak. So if you saw it, you saw it. I'm dying to know what you think. This is for people who wanted to put their little 2 cents in the comments below. And here's the reason why I think I like it. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Throwback vibes. Everyone loves nostalgia. It is definitely a streetwear piece. It kind of fits in with the wardrobe. And I don't know about you, but last season when the team was doing 2 or 3 weeks on the road back to back, it seems I was getting tired of seeing them in the same drab grays all the time. A splash of color would do it fine. Yes, in New York could have been white or silver, and yes, it could have been orange as well, but I think Nike is doing something with minimizing the colors on a print. That's fine. This is also why the black jersey doesn't have the outlines anymore. But more importantly, the last names are back, bold, and nice. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But that's not why you're here. You're here to talk about that Pete Alonso situation. So, Amazing Day, which is evolving to be one of the coolest fan events in all of baseball, really had a series of panels from the old school Mets, the new school Mets, and even people that are around adjacent to the team. Steve Gelbs was there, etc., etc., etc. But the owner of the team, Steve Cohen, was in attendance, and before he was even asked nary a question, the crowd that was in attendance chanted, "We want Pete." Well, who are we to not address the elephant in the room? So thanks so much for all the journalists that did. And it was asked about the possibility of having Pete Alonso back on the team next season. And well, Steve Cohen held nothing back. I'm going to give a shout out to Laura Albanese, who is a baseball writer. She actually posted her ballot this season over there at New York Newsday to really put things in perspective. He says, quote, "I don't like the structures that are being presented to us. It's highly asymmetric against us. I feel strongly about it. That's the process of getting Pete back. I will never say no. You know, there's always a possibility. But the reality is that we're moving forward and we continue to bring in players. As we continue to bring in players, the reality is it becomes harder for Pete into what is a very expensive group of players that we already have," which is interesting. Steve doesn't do sentiment, I guess. That's where and I am being brutally honest. That's a quote he used, brutally honest. "I don't like the negotiations. I don't like what's being presented to us. And listen, maybe that changes. And certainly, I'll always stay flexible. If it stays this way, I think we're going to have to get used to the fact that we may have to move forward with the existing players that as we're realizing here, we have already had and signed." Oh my goodness me. I'm not sure how I feel about this. On one hand, it's kind of sad, right? Pete Alonso was the torchbearer for the Mets, held us through some very dark times in 19, 20, and 21 with the pandemic. Kind of a homegrown player. No, that kind of definitely is a homegrown player. The kind of player your uncle who hasn't watched a baseball game in 10 years knows about. But on the other hand, this is a business, and Steve Cohen didn't become a wealthy individual by playing to emotions and what should be. If you think he's giving a fair deal, and the other side is not dealing in good faith, this may very well be the end. Again, if I haven't already, thanks so much to Laura Albanese for transcribing this. But it does raise more and more questions. Not so much about Steve Cohen. You know the guy wants to win. You know that he put a lot of money into the team, whether it's a payroll, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's, heck, even the fantasy camp got new camps next year, right? But really wasn't see results. And he's right. Pitchers and catchers report in about 3.5 weeks as we record this. And so you don't want to keep waiting to see if someone's going to show up or not. You got to make the move as you see fit. But you really can't deny that those people, the fans that came out to a day called Amazing Day, overwhelmingly wanted Pete Alonso on the team. Overwhelmingly wanted Pete Alonso here. The very nature of a Met for life is something we want to see. I mean, Brandon Nimmo is on pace to do that, but David Wright really was the last one to do that. And I kind of saw Polar Bear doing the very same thing, becoming a Met for life. But if someone really wants the bag and the bag is not there, you feel like you should read the room. Look, we talked about the Pete Alonso situation for a long time. In fact, I'm going to bring back up the quotes there from Steve Cohen. We talked about the Pete Alonso situation for a long time. Oh, he played himself with that extension. In hindsight, he did. He bet himself when he lost. Trust me, I bet myself and lose all the time. My parents think I left home to become a lawyer. I do this instead. I totally understand. But now the devil is due. Now you got to face the music. If you're Pete Alonso, the qualifying offer is 21.05. You turn that down. Do you try another 1-year prove-it deal with the hopes of getting that long-term extension you want? Or is the extension the thing you want the most? Stability for your family and to uproot them as few times as possible. Either way, you got to make a decision. Because the last thing you want to do is wait to spring training and then go, oh yeah, family, we're playing in Toronto or Anaheim, depending on the rumors you've been hearing. Pack up your stuff. But the thing is, though, as Steve Cohen says this, he does have responsibility on paper to do what's best for the team. And whether or not an ownership group does that remains to be seen, debatable. I mean, some teams have a bit more trouble with that department. Look at the White Sox or the Athletics. But Steve Cohen understands that you really can't overpay just because of the feels. But the question now becomes, if you're Pete Alonso, hearing that, what's going through your mind? Are you calling Scott Boras and saying, get the deal done? Are you saying, oh man, this guy is at his wit's end? Because even if we do work out a deal with the Mets, do you really want Steve Cohen mad at you? I think too much. Elsewhere, though, Francisco Lindor looked pretty fly, having both jerseys ready to go, and that sick hat he wore at the panels today was asked about the Pete Alonso situation, too. Lindor, the presumptive captain of the team, I kind of value what he thought of the whole delayed process, and he had to say this. Shout out to Colin Martin over at SNY TV. So that question was asked when that Pete Alonso was surprised that Alonso wasn't back or signed as of yet, and Lindor says, quote, surprised? I can't be surprised with somebody's decision. I mean, it's his decision. Pete should maximize. Pete should make the best decision for him and his family. Pete's been here since I've been here. He's been here before me. So yeah, it would be different if he's gone somewhere else. Yeah, it would be different for sure. I think he should take his time. I think he should make the best decision for himself and not feel like he's rushed into a decision, and I'm sure he will. Pete's smart. Not to compare the two, but it kind of reminds me of the whole Wilmer Flores situation. When Wilmer got traded finally to San Francisco, I'm sure he didn't like the idea of being shipped off, but he has played more games in San Francisco than he ever had in New York, and he feels like more of a giant than a Met at this point. Maybe this next chapter for Pete would do him some good. But that said, if the presumptive or the Flobito captain wants Pete to take his time and to find a decision best for him, why the heck not? Why not wait to make sure you have the right deal instead of rushing into something because the owner of the team said something at a conference? And speaking about Mets for life, Brandon Nimmo also chimed in on the very same subject. Again, Brandon Nimmo was really the last major extension that I think Pete Alonso was looking for, that 8-year deal a couple seasons out under the previous administration. I don't think David Stearns is in the plan to do that, but if anyone has an idea of what it means to be a long-term Met, it'll be Mr. Nims. Again, the same article from SNY TV. Quote, Brandon Nimmo says, I would love to see Pete back with us. But I also understand that I don't make those decisions, and it's between Pete and our front office and David Stearns and Steve Cohen. From what I understand, there may have been a lot of talks between them. I'm still hopeful that we'll sign them. Even if so, we're really happy about what we've done this offseason. I think we've made our team a better team. Obviously, I love Pete. I've been with him for a long time, so would love to see him back. And so we'll see how it all transpires next days or weeks. A little bit of a kind of a, hey man, thanks for the memories from Brandon Nimmo. I think Brandon is the longest tenured current Met on the squad, so his opinion, his perspective carries weight, but a little bit more of a, hey man, not my pay grade. If you gotta go, you gotta go. I understand. More power to you. Get yours. I do think that crosses Nimmo's mind about his long-term extension, getting the years that he have wanted, and the fact that Pete didn't get his. But what say you at this point? Steve Cohen, I have to say props to him for being as candid as he was. I mean, Steve Cohen can play things to the chest. He has. He's a fantastic example of doing that, especially at his day job over there in Wall Street. But to him to come out and say on Amazing Day, look, this is how I feel, it's kind of a thank you to the fans and not keeping us in the dark. But two, also saying, yeah, I'm at my wit's end. There's not much more I can do. So I am not sure if that was a political move. I'm not sure if that was like an influence move, or I'm not sure if it's kind of like a guy throwing his hands up and going like, "What do you want from me?" You could be the judge on that. Let me know in the comments below. It was a interesting, amazing day. What do you know about that? I hope there's another one, especially in the summertime, because it looked pretty cold out there. We'll be back with another edition of Mets Digest sooner rather than later, whether it's myself or Mike D'Angelo. You got to stick tuned. My name is Flobo Boyce, and as always, it's LGM to the bitter end.